Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chris with InsideTheU, here to talk about Miami's sixth spring practice. Mario Cristobal spoke after practice today. I'll get into some things that he had to say, as well as quarterback Tyler Van Dyke, Leonard Taylor on the defensive line, as well as DJ Scaife there on the offensive line. So unfortunately today we weren't able to watch any parts of practice. It was a big coaches clinic today. A lot of high school coaches were out here, as well as some famous, well-known coaches that were invited, and they spoke to all these guys, which was great. Sean McVay, the headliner, but Ed Ogeron, as well as Jimmy Johnson. So a lot of big names today on campus. Great to see. A lot of recruits are on campus as well. Just an overall good day for the University of Miami to have all of these big names here on campus, which is great to see. As far as what Coach Cristobal had to say about practice, one of the things I asked him was, what's the biggest improvement that he's seen so far from practice number 1 to practice 6? Because we've not had a chance to talk to Coach since the first practice. So the biggest thing he said was he was really talked about, the consistency of physicality. He feels like this team is starting to get it. They're starting to become more physical on both sides of the ball. But certainly he definitely cautioned it by saying we've got a long ways to go. So certainly he likes the progress they've made in that area, but still wants to see more from it. And I think you'll start to see more of that as the spring continues, as the team is in full pads. I think sometimes it's a little tough, those first few practices, not just with the new coaching staff, but you're not in full pads. You're just getting back into it, even though they've been doing football activities since the end of last season with their workouts and training and things like that. So kind of switching a little bit to the offensive side of the ball with Tyler Van Dyke, he really feels like that the offense, I asked him the same kind of thing, where they've made the improvements. And, one of the things he feels like that they're just having more consistent drives. So earlier in spring ball, they would have good plays and then bad plays, and, it would kind of trade off in that sense. But he said that they're starting to become more consistent with their drives, a lot of good plays, play after play after play, which is good to see with the consistency that we talk about quite a bit with what Coach had to say. But Tyler's seeing some consistency in production with the offense, which falls in line on some of the things that we're able to see, or what I've able to see out there at practice, because, we're not out there all the time. Like I said, we're not out there today, but I've seen the offense pick it up in the last few practices, and Tyler senses that too. He was asked about wide receivers. Who are some guys that are stepping up and maybe consistent, or who's making plays? The first guy he mentioned was Jacoby George. He talked about that highlight reel catch that he made a couple practices ago. I think you guys saw it there on social media. He said also he came down with a catch today. It sounded like it was on Corey Couch. Looked like maybe some sort of, Couch might have had a chance at it. Again, just from what Tyler had to say. But, Jacoby came down with it, which is good to see, which isn't a surprise. If you guys remember that game last year against Duke, he had that crazy catch, and then, he just has a good knack for coming down with the ball there, and then able to make big plays. And I think that's what you've seen with Jacoby. I've mentioned him quite a bit as he's been kind of in that top pairing there with that first group. Xavier Restrepo was another guy Tyler mentioned that's been very consistent and doing well. He didn't mention Keyshawn Smith, but I'm sure he was just naming a couple guys because I've seen Keyshawn have some good catches out here, particularly that bomb that he caught, that 65-yard touchdown from Tyler just recently this week. So, those are your kind of top 3 receivers right now as it shakes out. And it was probably good to hear that Jacoby is a guy that's doing well, because we see Xavier, and he also got more reps last year, and we know about what Keyshawn can bring to the table. But it's just good that he had good things to say about Jacoby, who's trying to really fit in and kind of emerge. You're looking for some sort of wide receiver to emerge from the pack, and it seems like 6 days in, Jacoby's starting to separate himself a little bit from the rest of the group. So we'll see how that continues, and also, how much, how many big plays he can make moving forward. I think he's a guy that, as he gets even more comfortable, more confident, you're going to see a guy that continues to produce. So it's good news to hear from the wide receiver group there. Kind of sticking with the offense, Coach Cristobal said, he was asked about Will Mallory's out for the spring. He didn't want to divulge anything about Mallory's injury, but just said he's going to be there for the season, and, it happens. So nothing to really worry about right now with Will at all. I think it just gives a great opportunity for Elijah Arroyo and Jaleel Skinner in particular. You saw the video. If you haven't yet, definitely check that out. The tight end video shows them catching passes that I put up on the channel. Also, a lot of blocking stuff I found to be really interesting as well. Not just, the technique stuff, but also going against defensive linemen, doing some combo blocks with the offensive linemen that we've seen in practices. It's unfortunate I couldn't get more video today, but I'm gonna go back through and see if there's anything extra that I have. I did post a running back video, so you got a chance to see Jalen Knight and Don Chaney Jr. go through some drills, even though they're injured. So I thought that was good to see. I think Henry Parrish, he's sticking with the running back in the running game. Henry Parrish is gonna be very interesting to see how he does, throughout this offense, because he's a guy that is certainly very familiar with running backs coach Kevin Smith, kind of rotating in as that number 3 back at Ole Miss last year. But he's going to be an asset because he can catch the ball, and I don't see, currently on this team, they don't have another guy that can catch passes as well as Henry. Jalen has shown flashes, and I think he's the next best at it, but certainly they'd like to get Jalen involved, and I do expect Jalen to get more involved as soon as he gets ready with after his injury there, dealing with the wrist injury there. Sticking with running backs, I didn't mention this last video, but great to see Travis Homer out here, former Miami running back. He was out at practice doing some training afterwards, got this chance to see him a little bit. So just transition into the defense. Leonard Taylor was certainly excited about this defense. He feels like things are a little bit different. Coach is pushing him. He's excited. I asked him, I'm always really curious. Look, we can sit here and talk about what we expect from players as they progress in their careers. So I asked Leonard what he expects from year 2, that he had a year under his belt. He gave a decent answer. It wasn't anything, he didn't say anything how he wants to be all ACC or all American or take this big jump. He didn't proclaim those goals to us, which is fine. He certainly, I assume he wants to have those as goals, but he said he just wants to play more and play better and those kind of things, make more plays. So gave the standard answer. But he's excited. He likes what the defense, how they're pushing him. He didn't want to get into specifics about his weight changes, but he feels lighter but stronger and faster. And you can see it, just kind of seeing him out here in the spring. He does look a little lighter. He still looks strong. You see it in the videos yourself. He's getting by the offensive line. He's using his strength as well as his quickness. I'm expecting a big year out of him. And, there's been nothing that I've seen this spring that has, changed my mind on that, because he's looked good in the one-on-one drills. He's looked good in the individual drills when they do the individual workouts as well. So he's doing well. He's got to continue to keep working, to keep, to be one of those high caliber defensive tackles in the country. But yeah, I'm going to keep this fairly short because we couldn't see practice today. I'm just kind of relaying on a few messages from Coach Cristobal, a few of the players. I will have some more information on those guys. I'll post the videos so you guys can see that. If there's any news and notes that I gather from practice today, I'll certainly post that on our message boards. But I want to thank everybody for watching these videos. Just a quick, short one here after practice today. But definitely looking forward to the 7th practice. Will be on Tuesday. I think we'll be back to a normal schedule. We'll be back out there. Drop in the comments below if you want to see more videos of the positions in particular. I know I'd like to get more of the safety work. I wasn't real pleased with the video I put together on the cornerback, so I definitely want to focus on defensive backs at some point next week. But if there are players or positions that you haven't seen enough of or want to see more of again, definitely drop in the comments below. I'd like to try to give you guys as much information as possible. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Hopefully you have a good rest of the day, have a good weekend, and take care.